public are the police and the police are the public. I kind of make the joke that I spent my days dealing with idiots online and then my nights arresting idiots on the street. We had a young person disclose to a police officer who was on Snapchat that they had been sexually assaulted.
On this week's Engaging Marketeer, I'm speaking with James Armstrong from Social Firefly. James runs a social media company helping businesses with their social media outreach and posts across the web. But James started with the police, and he was responsible for all the social media content for his local police force. So I'm going to be speaking to James about what that was like, the kind of reception he got from the great British public, and how he transitioned from the police into private enterprise working on businesses' social media.
We were talking to a podcast studio actually the other day because we're thinking about doing our own podcast at some point. So we went down and had a look, and it's all very nice. If you want to do something like this, I could do it from my chair here.
Yeah.
Kind of easy. I'd have to get a nicer mic, obviously, with some branding all over it.
You got to have a bit of branding on the mic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but we're thinking about doing a kind of couch thing where there's a couple of people sat around. So you kind of do need a studio for that. Yeah, it's interesting.
So we've got space downstairs to build that. It is there, but it wouldn't be soundproofed. You know, we'd have to do a lot for that because somebody gets up and makes a cup of tea and you can hear the footsteps on the ceiling, and that's no good.
No. That's why I suppose, that's why there's these little podcast studios popping up.
Yeah.
There's two that have popped up in Brighton recently. One's really good, and you know they adapt it for you, and the other ones are just a bit quicker and dirtier. Get in there, film, get out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see why they'd be popular now because a lot more people doing it.
Yeah, well, that's the problem as well, isn't it? That's why we're not sure whether we want to actually do it because there's so many out there.
It's just so common, so common.
Yeah,
oh, you
is
just
there a way
turn over
to
a rock
define
and
yourself?
There's another one there, just there. Oh, it's wrong.
At least with you've done it for a bit longer, and I think
4 years
like
now.
A different
4 years,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's finding you. I think it sounds like just listening to a couple of them, you found. Your style is very different to other people, and it's just interesting. It's interesting for marketers, I think, because it's not all going down one route or trying to achieve one thing on every single podcast, and that's interesting. Whereas others, it just gets a little bit samey and boring over time. Do you know what I mean? And
there is definite variety with mine. Although I've had two franchisors in the last couple of weeks, one from America, one from the UK. So good to put those two out side by side. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But let's ask you some questions then, shall we? Let's kick right in.
Yeah. Well, How do you want to do it? Do we just get in there and
we
start
just get in there?
Or?
Yeah. Because you know, I've not given you any questions in advance. There's absolutely no prep work whatsoever for this. You're not prepared in the slightest. Now, from a brief discussion we had, was it last month, something like that. The thing that really, really caught my interest was the fact that you were doing social media work with the police.
Yeah.
And that strikes me as very difficult because you're up against a public that is not the most friendly towards the police at the best of times. And on social media, people are assholes. So what got you into doing that?
Well, I started my adult career in policing. At the age of 21, I was a police community support officer. And then I was one of the first public engagement officers, which was kind of a local level, district kind of level, police community support officer who also then talks to the public a bit more online. So I was one of the first with a Twitter account. And I'd walk my patch around Rye in East Sussex.
Oh, so you'd walk out around and still be online as part of the job?
Yeah.
So you weren't sat behind a desk as a keyboard warrior the whole time then? It was out on the street?
Not at that point. So at that point, I was doing both of the things.
What year was that, so we know? Because you mentioned Twitter, and Twitter was 2009 it came out. So what year were you doing that?
Yeah, it would have been around about 2010, 2009, 2010.
So pretty much straight in there then.
pretty much straight in there because I was there for 10 years and I left in 2018.
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah.
So what were you doing on Twitter? Just basically responding to people complaining about stuff on the streets, or?
No, so at that time, I was the face of policing in the villages and towns that I was working in. That's what a police community support officer does. And so the idea was that we also do that online. So we can update people if there's a traffic incident, or we can ask for help if there's a missing person, or we can deliver crime prevention advice on Twitter. That's how it started, and that was just as my, in my first role. In the public engagement officer role, it became slightly bigger, where I was supporting with writing blogs on the website and going to more kind of clinics to meet members of the public, etc. So it was still quite local. And by this point, I would have been in Bexhill, which is in East Sussex, and I was managing the online engagement for the local police across all of the region. So that became more online. That was less of me going out on the streets at that point. And then after that, I applied to be a district communications manager, where I would manage all of the communications across all of East Sussex within the marketing communications team. So I would no longer be a police community support officer on the streets, and I would be behind a desk supporting the senior leadership team to get specific advice and alerts and press releases out there into the world, but also support with internal communication. So ensuring that police officers and staff members knew what we were supposed to be doing at any one time. If there was a new law that came in that we needed to be talking about, or we needed the world to know about it, or if there was again things like street surgeries for your local police community support officer, I would be helping to push that out.
And what was the sort of response to all of this? Because as I mentioned, people can be idiots online, and I saw a police force just last week put a post out on social media about two female police officers that were jogging, and they had body cams on, and they did it as not an experiment. It was a service to stop catcalling and people that were harassing women when they were jogging. And the responses to that online were mixed. There were some people saying, "Oh, that's really necessary. That's brilliant that you're doing that." And they reported how they didn't actually have any problems that day. And then there were other people saying, "What a complete waste of time. You should be out catching criminals rather than doing that." Whenever anything goes online, there's always polar opposite responses that causes arguments. Did you get any of that? What was the kind of responses you were getting?
Yeah, the public are separated. They always have been, always will be.
I was wondering how you were going to finish that sentence then.
No, but so in the UK, we police by consent, and one of the big things that Sir Robert Peel, who set up policing, said was the public are the police and the police are the public. That's why we don't have guns most of the time. Don't need them, right? We're supposed to be members of the public that swear an oath to help the public, and it's not just about enforcing laws. So I think we took that approach when it came to social media. Everyone else is online and in Twitter and in these other channels. We really should be as well, because we are part of the public too. And so you have to bear that in mind when you're creating content for policing, that you are part of the community. And the whole idea is that you become a bigger part of the community by pushing yourself out there on social media. There will be people that don't like the police, but there's people who hate ambulance drivers and people that firemen as well. It's for some reason people do. I know the police get a harder time of it because of the type of job that policing is. but there will always be people that don't like you. And that's the same approach for all social media. You can never be everyone's cup of tea. And you kind of you've got to remind yourself of that. I mean, I think I saw it more when I went from being a district communications manager and became the digital communications manager for all of Sussex Police. So at that point, I then was in charge of not just the local social media, and now suddenly all of Sussex. So helping the communications team manage communications, but also the help centre. So the people that would then answer 101 calls or 909 calls, we had to put into place a system for them to be able to respond to non-emergency queries on places like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And I really saw I kind of make the joke that I spent my days dealing with idiots online and then my nights arresting idiots on the street, because at this point I became a special constable, and a special constable is exactly the same as a regular police officer, just don't get paid. So it's a volunteer role, but you have the same training, and you go out there and you arrest people. So I had this kind of unique skill set that no one else in the communications team and the marketing team had. I also had been in policing for a lot longer, and I was now out there arresting people and seeing the good and the bad of society, both online and out in the real world. And I think what I definitely see online then, and I see online still, is social media just amplifies who we are. And so the people who are trolls and who are haters online, that's just them amplifying who they are in real life as well, and then finding an outlet. So those people will always exist. Now, yeah, it is difficult when you're having to manage it every single day. So we were seeing the bad and the good every single day. I mean, I managed the social media for the Shoreham air crash, which you might have heard about, which people died in that air crash. And we had to manage the communications around getting people out and telling the world what had happened and giving people updates. And there were still people online that just didn't want to hear from the police and didn't like what we were doing. There were, even though we were trying to support people during a really difficult time. So yeah, my point is there will always be those two polar opposites of society, and you can never get away from it. But you have to kind of hold on to the fact that there are more positives out there in the world. One other thing that I still say now that I said a lot then is that if you have a look at any of the social media that policing or any other emergency service put out, you get more likes and positive reactions than you get negative comments. So the silent majority of the people who might like a post or share it or just not say anything at all and just scroll past, it's the loud minority who make it seem like the world is completely negative, and it's not.
Was it just Twitter you were using, or were you using other social media platforms as well?
All of them. Yeah, basically. I helped bring in TikTok. No, not TikTok. It was Snapchat at that point. Yeah, helped bring in Snapchat at one point during a. So myself and Mel, my co-founder actually of Social Firefly, we met at the comms and marketing team at Sussex Police, and we ran a campaign together about child sexual exploitation. And as part of that, we launched the Snapchat channel. The idea was giving advice and also doing some fun stuff on Snapchat so that children wanted to follow. And that worked really well. And the one reason I say it worked is because a couple of weeks in, we had a young person disclose to a police officer who was on Snapchat that they had been sexually assaulted. So it wasn't about how many impressions did we get. how many engagements did we get. It was about that one child, and that worked really well. And so that was, I think, one of our biggest successes. And it just shows why public sector should be in social media and understand it well enough to engage people and have that open kind of dialogue with all kind of members of society, young and old.
Well,
I went off into a tangent there.
no, that's a really good avenue to go down, because I was going to ask, how well do you think that the public sector, the police, actually does understand social media? Because there's so many people on there that are saying things that if they said it in the street, they'd be punched in the face or they'd be arrested. Yet they say it behind the perceived anonymity of social media and get away with it. How well does the police understand it? How well is it being tracked? What sort of support are you getting from the social media providers themselves in terms of stamping out these illegal activities? I mean, I refer to incidents like Lucy Connolly that suggested that the hotel that the migrants were being staying in would be burnt down, and she was sentenced for that and went to prison for it, quite rightly so. And then a load of people were going online saying, oh, she's been put in prison for posting a tweet. And it's like, no, she's not been put in prison for posting a tweet. It's what she said. It's the incitement to violence that she did. How much understanding do you think there is among the police, among the public sector, and among social media providers on what they should be doing?
I think there is more now. And we're talking about two different things, right? So on my side, I was marketing and communications, not dealing with the investigations around, say, somebody inciting violence in a tweet. That's a separate thing. I do think that they have got better and better at understanding it. There was at one point when I was there, not really the understanding of how to actually engage with the platforms themselves, but it has got better. The platforms have specific ways to speak to them as a public sector as well. So they have got a little bit better about it. They don't seem to have the responsibility that they should have, I would say, especially because they are not a UK based. All of them, none of them really are a UK based, and they have this. They have to deal with the law across multiple different countries and continents. So it's difficult. It's a really, really difficult one to kind of get into because of the different laws across the different across the planet, really. And yeah, I think the police are getting better. I think they're getting better at understanding it. But the problem is it's constantly moving and constantly changing, and so governments and public sector are always going to be chasing the tail a little bit. They're always going to be a bit far behind, just like massive corporates are as well. We work with loads of different types of organizations and businesses, and the ones that don't do it well, don't do social media well, and bring us in to help them do it, are often the ones with massive budgets, but also massive bureaucracy, and they are just slow to catch up, basically. And that goes for governments and public sector as well. Everyone's just a little bit slow to catch up. I do think the marketing and comms teams are doing some interesting stuff. Sussex Police did something on Valentine's Day recently, which was quite fun, which got engagement and and encouraged people to call in about someone who needed to be arrested. We did something similar actually back in my day, but they've taken it one step further. So you have to have again, just like big corporates, you have to have buy-in from right at the top. You have to have senior leaders say, we trust you, go and do it. And that's very difficult in public sector to trust.
What did they do that was Valentine's Day themed? Was it like a Valentine's Day poem looking for somebody? Or?
Well, it was it was a police officer holding a tray, and it was like a nice little breakfast, and they walked through a cell and said, "Oh, we're waiting for you," basically. And then it had the suspect's name up there in his face. And
oh, that's harsh.
No, he's wanted. It's not harsh at all. He's wanted. That's not harsh at all.
Is
He's
there
committed a crime.
if they're putting his face up there, isn't that a worry then that they're possibly inciting the public into taking action themselves?
Wanted posters have been around for hundreds of years.
Well, yes, back in the times when Americans carried guns and people got bounties for shooting dead wanted people. But should we be putting that up so that people are in the streets making citizens arrests and potentially as well the wrong people?
People are told not to make citizens arrests, and they shouldn't.
So what's
they
the
should
what's
call
the purpose of putting the photo up? And I guess something like that's very engaging. It's very funny, and it does raise awareness. But is there a potential that it is going to incite somebody to attempt to apprehend somebody that either is that person or looks like them?
Yeah, there is a risk there. There's definitely a risk, but the same goes for missing people. You know, if you don't put out the face of a missing person, they might not be found.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, really. And there is a level. So you wouldn't put out someone's face for really low-level crimes. That's not going to happen. It's where we think, you know, I haven't been in policing for, 8 years now? Yeah, so it's where that they think, well, this person needs to be caught, or we need to either charge them or get them back into prison. And the police always say, look, don't do a citizen's arrest, call the police. And so and then they begin to build up a picture of where this person is. I think it's a really vital part. But as soon as they're arrested, those photos are taken down. The same with the missing people. Photos are taken down once they're arrested. I think about it in the same way as wanted posters, really. And again, going back to the police of the public and the public of the police.
Yeah.
The public should be behind the police and supporting them. Most of the time. I know there's loads of problems with policing, but there's also loads of great things that the police do as well. And most police officers are actually there because they want to help people and make a difference. Even though you hear about the negatives and you hear about bad police officers, but there's bad people in every single profession, and it's really difficult. You're never going to get away from that either. I'm going around in circles now.
I was surprised you said how quickly that you were on Twitter for it, possibly the first year of it, or the first 12 months of Twitter being alive. How restrictive was it? Because if you post on behalf of a company, the company will have rules of what you can and can't say. And in many cases, some companies have somebody that wants to see what's going out on social media before it's posted. There's a lot of red tape. I would have thought the police would have a lot of red tape. What was the case with it? How much freedom did you have?
Well, at the beginning, there was quite a lot of freedom, really, because I don't think really anyone understood it too much. But what they did is trust us as adults to not say something we shouldn't. We were trained in what we should be saying or shouldn't be saying. For instance, I used to go to parish council meetings as a police community support officer and talk about what we might have been doing the last week, or talk about a crime that's happened in the village and ask for help and advice. I wouldn't have said anything in Twitter that I wouldn't have said in that parish council meeting. So yeah, it was fairly open at the beginning. I was then, at the end of my career, I was in charge of creating a new strategy and new guidelines for the entire force, and it became slightly more strict, but not overly so, because you were trusted. In some police forces that wouldn't happen, but I think we had a really good senior leadership team that just trusted their people.
Okay. So when you left the police, You made that decision. What was your first move from then?
Well, I was in the canteen at Sussex Police HQ, and Mel, who's my co-founder, said to me, "Do you want to start a business together? I think I kind of want to start a business, and you might be the right person." So she flattered me into doing it.
That old chestnut, eh?
And yeah, well, exactly. And I was actually the first person to. I was the first one to leave. Actually, I handed my notice in on my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, that's nice.
And yeah, which was nice. So we left with no actual clients, with no real idea about what we were going to do. Well, we already knew we had already started the business, but the business was something completely different then. It was about trying to find meeting rooms in Brighton. It was a website that we'd created, but as part of doing that website, we realized that why shouldn't we should be leaning into what we're a little bit better at, which is the marketing side of things. And we started offering marketing advice to venues around Brighton and around Sussex. And that part of the business grew, that marketing side grew. Next thing you know, it's COVID, and that's when the business started to stop a little bit, kind of slowed down, just like a lot of other people's businesses. But also we had our other contacts reach out to us because they suddenly needed some kind of digital marketing. So we had a city council reach out to us and ask us to support them with paid social media to encourage people to wear their masks, and then later on to get their vaccines, etc. And that's where we moved from working with smaller businesses to the public sector a little bit more, to bigger charities, and it started to grow from there. And now we work with loads of different types of organisations, from the expert French version of polyfiller, which is it's a strange thing to say. We've been working with them for 6 years now. They're called Toupret. They're great.
Okay.
All the way through to Brighton City Council, to the Brighton Philharmonic Orchestra, to Centrepoint, the homeless charity. We've got this eclectic group of loads of different types of businesses now. Yeah.
And I presume you were the obvious choice for someone to come to for approaching the public and talking to the public about getting vaccinated and wearing masks, because you already had that experience of dealing directly with the community when you were at the police.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why a lot of people come to us, actually, that reputational risk experience and the experience of managing communities. I think that's why our agency is very different to other agencies as well. That we didn't come from agency land. We came from the public sector, so we think about things a little bit differently, I think. I always say that social media includes the word social for a reason. And that's because I truly believe that it's about engaging with other human beings, not just trying to sell to them all the time. And so, yeah, that public sector work is definitely where we thrive. And for any client that actually wants to actually have a relationship with their customers or with their audiences or with their supporters, that's the important thing. And yeah, I think the policing background definitely helped with that.
There'll be a lot of business owners listening to this. Well, hopefully there will be anyway. There'll be a lot of business owners listening to this who are in, say, accountancy or financial services, or maybe they're trades like builders, plumbers, electricians, and they'll be thinking, I've got a social media, I've got a Facebook account, or I've got a Twitter X profile, whatever you want to call it. I've got a LinkedIn. I post on it every now and then, and I get absolutely no engagement whatsoever. I get no comments, no likes. It's like I'm pissing in the wind. What can I do to change that?
Well, start with the people that you want to engage with. Like, what will actually make them stop and want to have a conversation with you, or like a post, or share it? Remember that we're not on social media to be sold to. We kind of say that around about 80 to 90% of everything that you do on social media should be about engaging people. So it should be providing value to them, or entertaining them, or educating them based on what your specific advice is. What your what work you do. That's the big key, is understanding that audience and what will they want to be engaged or entertained by. It's not about selling. That's the big thing. The next thing I would say is to think about the key themes that you want to talk about, because social media has become a search engine as well. So social search engine optimization is really, really important. So on LinkedIn, for instance, you should pick 2 to 3 key themes that you're going to always be talking about. Make sure that those key themes are in your headline of your LinkedIn profile, and that they are the things you're talking about all the time in your feed, in your posts. The reason for that is that LinkedIn is looking for authority. It wants to group you. It wants to say, this person is really great about social media. They're always talking about social media. So I'm going to show them to people that are looking for stuff about social media. That also helps with AI search, because AI, especially ChatGPT and Perplexity, have started to search LinkedIn for authoritative knowledge. And if you can be building up that authority through constant engagement around a specific subject that you're good at, you're more likely to then be seen by the people that want to engage with it, and be seen by things like AI search. So there's 2 big things: it's the audiences, and then it's those key things that you're really, really good at. If you're not getting engagement, it's because you are not thinking about really good organic social media. I kind of think that middle of the funnel, that organic social media, that is where the value lies. That is where the growth can be had. I mean, have you seen these guys that go and cut grass for old people that can't afford it?
I've
And
seen videos on
they film
TikTok
it.
in America, not in the UK, but I've seen quite a few of them. Yeah.
There's one happening in there's a guy doing it in the UK as well. I can't remember his name, but he's
I
doing
saw
that
the
for a
police go
reason.
to arrest one guy actually for doing it,
Yeah, and
because they said he's
it's
not
in kind
allowed
of
to do it for free because the council has to charge them to do it, and him doing it for free is taking business off the council. It's very weird.
it's very, very weird.
Yeah.
But he gets loads of views from that, and people are hiring him because he's doing that. So he's at no point does he say, "Hey, buy from me, purchase my services."
No,
He's
he doesn't.
showing that he's a good person, and he's showing actually his skill at the same time. Oh, I'm really good at this, and then you get people hiring him off the back of that. So it is about creating content that is intriguing and interesting or entertaining, and then showing your skill at the same time, and you're going to get someone to hire you because of that.
So I know a very specific video that you're talking about there. It's usually done in time lapse because it's quite a big job, and it's a massive transformation of a really overgrown garden into a really beautiful garden that somebody can use. And yeah, the voiceover tells you how it's done for free. It's done as a favour, and he asks permission to do it. But of course, that requires video. It requires the skill in editing and putting it together. How important is video on social media for businesses?
It's becoming incredibly important. Now, you can still do single imagery, and you can create carousels, or on LinkedIn, it's great to have multiple images, and on Instagram, it's great to have carousels. But the way that we behave on social media has changed. We don't follow as much, we don't engage as much, but we watch more. We've kind of been trained by TikTok and Instagram Reels now to understand that if I watch a video and I watch it for over 3 seconds, the algorithm thinks he likes that video, he likes that style. So I know I'm going to get it again. I don't need to actually follow that account.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get something similar again. So having engaging video is how you get reach, because that's just how the algorithms work now. They don't necessarily want you to follow or engage. They want you to watch, because it keeps us on their platforms for longer. And they want that. They want dwell time, because the longer you're dwelling on their platforms, the more advertising they can sell you. So you've got to play the game as a business owner, creating an engaging piece of content that will keep people there. And video is sometimes the best way to do that. That being said, I've had a lot of my LinkedIn posts go a little bit viral just from long form text, because it's engaging and I'm talking about a specific thing. I'm talking about social media. So that can work. But video is really important. But you can do it all with a phone now. Sometimes it's nice to get something really polished, but actually, we do find that when you just use your phone and a good voiceover, for instance, that feels more real. It feels like a friend has posted it, and so the audience are more likely to engage with it a lot of the time. It's good to have both, but yeah, all you need is a phone, and Instagram edits is actually getting better and better, and that's quite good to edit video quite quickly. So is TikTok, both pretty good at editing video now. But yeah, you do need good video.
One interesting question I thought of there as you were saying that, of you don't need to follow an account now to see it. And that's absolutely right. And sometimes if you leave a video on TikTok and you get distracted by somebody and you look away and then you look back again and you realize you've watched somebody doing a jigsaw for 10 seconds. Oh no, I'm going to get that now for the next week or so. People used to get hung up on how many followers they've got or how many engagements or likes they had on the video. And somebody shared on LinkedIn or in a WhatsApp group, I think it was just the other day, how they'd had a request for, we can give you 100,000 followers for $670 or whatever it is on TikTok. What are the real metrics we should be going for now? Because followers on TikTok isn't important. Followers on YouTube isn't really important unless you're going for one of the awards. You'll still get the reach without it. What metric should we be going, and what constitutes success on social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always said that followers are a vanity metric, that they don't really mean much, especially when people are buying fake followers, just bots,
Yeah.
And we've had businesses come to us before who have got loads of followers and just say, "Oh, we're not getting any engagement," and we look at their engagement rate and we find actually your engagement rate is higher than most people, but you're never going to reach all of the people that follow you, because that's just not the way the algorithms work anymore. So it is vanity just to have loads of followers. The metrics that we should be looking for, I've always said engagement, but that can mean loads of different things in loads of different channels. So for me, an engagement, a really meaningful engagement, is somebody has saved something or they've shared something. They are the highest form of engagement, especially if somebody shares, because if somebody is sharing something you put out, they're telling the world something about them. They're saying, I believe in this thing. It's quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish. It's quite selfish, So we don't think about it consciously, but we see a great post from a charity and we share it, and subconsciously we are also telling the world, I believe in this charity, and that makes the world feel something about us as human beings. That person's a good person because they are sharing that post from that charity. And the same goes for any content, really. So if you can find ways to encourage people to share, you're going to reach more people. The other key thing to be looking at is your video views. Anything over 3 seconds, and you're doing better than 95% of everyone on the internet, really. So if you can get somebody to stop and watch for a little bit longer, so that retention rate is really important, and understanding that. And this is why every business needs to be looking at their analytics and understanding which posts actually get people to stop and stay for a little bit. That's what's really important. So the dwell time, people staying, and meaningful engagements like shares. I mean, comments are nice as well. It's great to get loads of comments, but only if you're going to reply to and build that conversation. But yeah, reactions and likes aren't as important as they used to be. Impressions are just somebody scrolling past. It really doesn't mean a lot, and followers don't mean much at all anymore.
Yeah, and if you're not getting a lot of engagements, comments, likes, shares on TikTok, typically your posts, your videos, your content will stop around the 200 to 300 mark, and you'll find that every single post you put up is around 200 to 300. I think it's advisable that most businesses look at influencers, they look at videos that are doing well, and they see what it is about them that's doing well. And you'll find that most of them have something happen in the first 3 seconds, which is different, which disrupts the screen. You'll never get one with somebody standing there going, "Hi, my name's Darren from Engage Web," and it's because that's gone. That's gone. How would you advise people? I don't know if TikTok's your specialty at all. It might not be. How would you advise people get from that 200 to 300 view list up into the thousands for each video?
Yeah. So, well, one, it's not going to happen for each video. It's not going to happen for every single one. And there has to be a lot of testing and learning. And this is what we say for every single client and all marketing strategies. All marketing is test, learn, optimize, test, learn, optimize. It's always going to be like that. You should always be testing and learning. But there's kind of a 3-act structure we always talk about. So hook, which is grabbing your attention, narrative, tell the story, and call to action. Get someone to do something at the end. Now, that call to action shouldn't always be, "Hey, buy my thing." It could be, "Well, what do you think about this?" It could be a question. But you do that 3-act structure, and we kind of think of it as kind of a curve. You grab attention in less than 3 seconds. So you've got to use some kind of psychology around there. And I kind of talk about the psychology of hooks. One of them that works really well is baby schema. So big eyes, big forehead, a bit like me, but much, much cuter, right? Baby schema. That's why dogs and cats work. That's why babies work. Some kind of cuteness at the beginning of a video helps hook people in. Next is that pattern interrupt at the beginning of a video. And that's basically, that is shock and surprise. So the reason that kind of that shocking or bright colors, or something out of the ordinary grabs our attention, is because we have to see the out of the ordinary, or we have to see bright colors really quick, because in nature, those things could hurt us. So we are not that evolved. We're still kind of cavemen. We are still looking out for what is going to hurt us. So if you can find a way to surprise someone at the beginning, and there's loads of different ways to do that, but yeah, bright colors are good. Just grabbing attention with something completely out of the ordinary, that's great. And then the last thing is it's just people and faces. So talking directly to the person that is on the other end of that phone is really important. We're meant to, we're built to recognize this shape, the eyes, the nose, the mouth. And we see it in inanimate objects as well.
Yeah, it's why we see Jesus in a tortilla chip, that sort of thing. We're just looking for it.
Exactly, we're just looking for it. So if you can find a way to have that right at the beginning of a video, that is going to grab attention more than an inanimate object. That really is going to work. And then you tell a story. So it can be a really short story, or it can be a longer story, where you have kind of a rising action, where at the beginning, for instance, you might have seen kind of these hooks where a box is thrown and the box doesn't hit the person, but they say, "Oh, you thought that was going to hit me, didn't you?" And then later in the video, there's a climax where the box does actually hit them because they've been telling a story, and then the box hits them. And that's kind of the climax. And then you continue to tell the story in the end of the story, and then it's the call to action or the interesting ending. So that 3-act structure is also always really good to think about. It's a really simple three-act structure of any story. I mean, any film, you can see that 3-act structure happening.
Yeah. Hook, content, offer, or hook, content, call to action. And most people don't bother with the hook and they don't bother with the call to action. They just go straight into the content or the story, and that's why they don't get any engagement.
Yeah. And then the content normally isn't a good story anyway.
No.
It's trying to sell something, And look, I'm guilty of that sometimes. We have to do that sometimes. And like I said earlier, about 80 to 90% of what you do should be about providing value. But 20% does kind of have to be about selling if you're a business. You do have to tell the world what you do, because then they're not going to know, are they, if you don't? You just have to know that those posts are not going to be engaged with as much. But it is a compounding thing over time. And that's another thing that I used to say with policing, because we did have members of the public saying, well, why are you putting this post out? This is frivolous, like a photo of the police puppies. It got loads of engagement, but we reply with, well, the reason we do this is because you've now engaged with it, which means the next time that we post something about a missing child, you're more likely to see it.
Yeah.
It's that compounding over time. The same goes for businesses.
Yeah, a number of times I've had to explain that to people.
Yeah. But I think that's as marketers, we're always going to be explaining that kind of thing to people. Yeah.
So you've spoken at BrightonSEO.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I spoke at BrightonSEO twice. Yeah.
Whoa. Tell me about that. What's other than the fact that it's on your doorstep, what made you want to do that, and what sort of experience was it?
I think it's one of the better speaking experiences that I've had. I've spoken at a few different conferences. BrightonSEO is definitely the biggest one that I've spoken at. But they really look after you. They give you training, and they hold your hand a bit, and you have a nice WhatsApp group of the other speakers. So it's really fun. And it's just being part of the industry. So it's called BrightonSEO, but there's loads of talks that aren't just about SEO. Even though SEO has become so important in social media as well.
I heard it was dead. Now it's dead. AI's killed it.
AI definitely has not killed SEO. If you're using it properly, if you're thinking like a human rather than posting out AI slop, then you're going to perform better over time. But yeah, BrightonSEO is a really great one. It's a good one for the whole industry to come to. It's a busy one. I don't want to promote them too much. This isn't an actual. I'm not being paid to say this. Yeah. But it's a really nice one. It's just a lovely group of people that run it, and it's just very well respected. So that's why I wanted to do it at first. And a lot of our work comes from partnering with other agencies, and our kind of key demographic of people that we want to reach, our key persona, are marketing managers, right? Because they're going to hire us to come in and be the social media specialists. So BrightonSEO is a really great one for marketers to go to, because you're meeting other peers, and as an agency owner, it's a potential future clients as well.
So from your perspective, then it made commercial sense to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't directly track any clients that we have now from speaking at BrightonSEO, but what I can directly track is people I'm now connected with and have conversations with, who are in large organizations that may need us at some point, who we've grown engagement with, and we're building relationships with. So I think it's the same as any marketing or any branding, speaking at any conference, speaking on this podcast. These are all things that helps us build relationships with other marketers, and at one point they may need us. So it's all about being seen and heard and thought of as the expert, really. So eventually it makes commercial sense.
Eventually. See,
Yeah,
that's interesting. I'd genuinely dismissed doing it as a concept because it's mostly to your peers, and there's not much point standing up and talking to a load of SEO people about SEO because it's not going to help me commercially. But based on what you've said, potentially could. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the stages that I was speaking at were focused on paid social. So I was talking to a bunch of people who were interested in paid social but weren't necessarily experts. And there are other, marketing managers. And yeah. So I think it does make sense. Yeah, it does. I do want to speak more at specific marketing conferences and actually for instance, having some clients in the entertainment industry and in charities. I need to speak at more of them. Charity comms, I've delivered events for charity comms. Actually, we sponsored one of their conferences last week. And again, that helps as well because they are my peers because they're marketers, strategic marketers a lot of the time, but they also work in charity, and we have a lot of clients in charity as well. So you have to pick the ones that you think will make long-term commercial sense. It's the same as networking. You're building it over time. It's the same as social media. You're building it over time. It's that compounding again, isn't it, really?
And I suppose, like with networking, public speaking, and social media, you could end up doing too much that isn't right for you. It's the wrong content, it's the wrong platform, it's the wrong audience. You need to make sure that you're doing the right stuff in front of the right people to make it pay off.
No, exactly that. And this is why we also say you don't need to be on every single social media platform, because your audience isn't on every single social media platform. Especially if you are like professional services, you're a smaller business, you haven't got the time to be stretching yourself thin across YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. You choose one to get good at first. You find out where your audience is, and you focus in on that one first, and then expand it, if you can.
Well, I have to delve further into that. We are running out of time, but that is a question I do have to delve further into. If I am a trade, say a plumber, electrician, chippy, whatever, what is the main social media platform I should be using if my audience is homeowners?
Yeah, so it depends on the level of homeowner, actually. It depends on how premium they're looking for as well. So you have to think about that a little bit. And who is your target audience? So some plumbers, and so we know this from working with people like Dupre, some plumbers and decorators and electricians will work with more high-end people, high-end houses that want a very specific thing, and they've got a premium on their fees. Now, Instagram tends to be really great for that because it is this slightly older audience who really care about aesthetics. There's a really good group of people that care about aesthetics in there, but so is Pinterest. These are the two I would say it's really interesting.
A lot of people dismiss Pinterest.
Yeah, and they really shouldn't. For interior design, for decorators, for builders, I think it's a really interesting one to focus on. But if you are just if you are a local chippy and you are only working within a small area, Facebook groups are just a goldmine. That's where you build your relationships with people.
Okay.
I would still say Instagram's interesting for that, but Facebook groups, it's going to take a lot of your time in engaging with people and commenting and giving people advice, not selling all the time. But you don't have to do as much visual content like Instagram. Did that answer that question?
It did, and you almost started me on a rant then as well. I manage quite a few groups on Facebook, as you can probably imagine. One of them is a local group, and I've probably got, I think when I last looked, 4,500 unapproved posts in there, which there's probably, 50, 60 a day people try and put in, and it's the same shit. It's your local taxi firm sharing a post from their page with no comment straight in there. It's your local roofing or 3 roofing companies sharing posts from their page. So what they'll do every day, they'll go on Facebook, they'll go to their own post on their own page, and they'll share it around half a dozen groups. And that's their social media activity for the day. Much of that's not even getting approved by the moderators because nobody wants to see that shit.
Nope.
What's your message to people doing that? It doesn't have to be clean.
Well, I think my message is, imagine doing that in a networking group, walking in to networking with a poster and shoving it up against someone's face and saying, hey, buy my thing, or here's my plumbing service,
and then walking out.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. The same goes across all social media. You should be engaging, building relationships, providing advice and replying to people. It is not a broadcast platform. Social media includes the word social for a reason. It is not a broadcast platform. You should be having conversations with people. And remember, these people are just like you. You don't want to see those posts all the time. You do not want to be sold to when you're scrolling on Instagram. So don't do it to other people, because it is just crap. It's just the same as AI slop. No one's going to pay any attention to it eventually because they know everything's AI. Just scroll past. It's a waste of your time and everyone else's time as well. I could have got less clean there.
You could have. I know. I was feeling it. I was feeling it bubbling under there. I think we'd better end it now. So, James, for anyone listening to this thinking, I love this, I love the sound of your voice, I want to know more about you, I want you to speak at my event, or I want to work with you on our social media, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
The best way is on LinkedIn, James Armstrong. That's the best way, or Social Firefly. But my email address as well is james@socialfirefly.co.uk. Yeah, and I'd love to do. It's more speaking. I'd love to be doing more speaking. I'd love to be working with more people across the UK and beyond. So.
Fantastic. I will put the email address and the LinkedIn profile link below the podcast. So if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or Audible, Amazon Music, whatever, it'll be below in the description of the podcast. James, it's been fascinating speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for the invite.